Going to do something a little different today. I'm going to take a look at a couple of 3D scanners by Revopoint. Prior to making this video, I had no experience with 3D scanning. I still have a ton to learn, but I'm going to show these two scanners, talk about the workflow a little bit as I understand it to this point. I'm sure that I will probably make mistakes, that there are better ways to do things, and I will learn those as I go. But for right now, this is kind of a first look at 3D scanning and these two particular scanners, the Mini 2 and the Metro X. And before I get into looking at them, I do want to be clear that West 3D got these scanners for evaluation. This is not paid content by Revopoint. There's no commercial or financial anything going on here. We're just interested in taking a look at these, and I'm going to talk about what I found. So let's take a look. Checking out the Mini 2, it comes in this nice travel case. Pop that open. This is the scanner itself. You can see the lens array there. It has a little quick disconnect on the bottom, which we'll get to in a sec. And then on the back side, there are some control buttons if you want to run the scanning software from the unit, and their USB-C connector that does have a locking screw, which is really nice. That works with this handle/tripod. So if you are using this handheld, which I'll talk about, you can just hold it. These also fold out to become a tripod, and it extends to be able to get some height. I mentioned the handheld application. There are some times where you would want to manually scan something. And the other thing with this is that you can use the Mini 2 with a phone. I know it definitely works on an iPhone. There may be Android software available as well, and I will talk about that a little more in a bit. You get a little motorized turntable. It's pretty simple. You can have it run clockwise or counterclockwise, turn it off and on, and then there's a potentiometer to set the speed. One thing to be aware of is even though this is USB-C, it needs a constant 5-volt supply, so this won't work with most of your USB-C laptop power supplies. If you have a supply for a Raspberry Pi 4 or better, that would work. Or if you plug into a USB-A port, they do give you a USB-C to A cable, but you could get a longer cable. As long as you're plugging into USB-A, it should be fine, but not so much with the laptops. Taking a look at the other half, we've got some adapters and the cable for the turntable power. So this is the phone holder if you want to use this with your phone. There's the shoe for the quick disconnect that's on the Mini 2 itself, and then it has a standard 1/4-20 screw on the bottom. There are a number of USB battery banks that are also a handle for people that are doing selfies or vlogging. So you could get something like that, screw that into the bottom of the holder, plug the cable in to power the Mini 2, and then you've got a completely handheld rig. Moving on, this is that cable when you're using this with a phone. So there is the USB-A to go to your power bank. I guess you can also use this USB-C if you were using this going into a laptop and you just wanted the shorter cable. And then there is, oh, that's a pad for holding things on the turntable. And then we have the longer USB cable that goes to the scanner itself. Oh, the other thing that I forgot is this does come with a little, let me get it closer there, a little bust model that you can use as your first scan, you've always got an object that it will read. So let me get everything set up. I'll launch the software and we'll actually do a scan. All right, so I have my little setup here. I've got the Revopoint on its tripod, and you can see there's some blue light going there. This is what they call a blue light scanner, so hence the blue light. On the screen, we can see here we've got the depth camera over to the left, the RGB camera. This system is capable of doing color scans, I believe, so you can add texture and color within the software. And in the middle here is the actual view of the depth scan. There's a helpful scale to the right that tells you the distance. I'm going to adjust that so we're in between excellent and good, just in case this is a little off center. So with all of that done, we've got high accuracy. We're going to use feature tracking because I'm not using any markers. You can utilize marker dots on the object to help get a good track, and there's also mats that you can put down underneath your object if you were scanning something bigger that helps the system lock on and be able to know where it is in 3D space. So yeah, I think at this point we're pretty good. So I'm going to turn the speed of the turntable down. I will start the scan, and let's get this turntable going. So we can see here that the turntable is moving, the system is locking on and generating the point map that will get us all those details. And we are slowly turning. And my power bank keeps shutting down because it doesn't register the voltage draw, but we'll get through this one. Next up, I'm going to be showing you an even bigger and better turntable. But this one is fine for small objects, and it came with the kit, so no additional cost there. And we'll let it keep going. Make sure that we get a complete 360. It doesn't hurt if you want to have it do multiple revolutions either. Okay, and at that point, I think we're pretty well done. So I'm going to say that that's complete. It'll open up the model, and here is our raw scan. Now you can see there's nothing on the bottom because it didn't scan that. So our options there are, for something like this, there is a tool that will let us just close that, which is going to be the easiest way to deal with it. If you had something that you needed to have a complete 360-degree scan, you would need to move this and rescan, which I will show you with the Metro X. So for now, we can do a one-click edit, which will go through. It will perform all of the point fusion and meshing using recommended values, and then afterwards we can still adjust those. Okay, and after a couple minutes, we now have this output that doesn't look too bad. You know, the trouble areas here are underneath, where obviously the scanner couldn't get to because it was coming, the scan was happening at a higher angle. So we can go to fill holes. And for example, we'll do hole detection. Now, if I click here, the border turns from green to red. And we'll do that as a plane. And when I click apply, that should just fill that bottom and give me a flat base that would be hopefully suitable if I wanted to 3D print this. And it's done a fairly reasonable job. Obviously, the chin is going to be more of an issue. So if I pick that and apply, I mean, not very aesthetic, but it doesn't know what it's working with. So this would definitely be a situation where if you wanted to do a scan like this to be able to 3D print or bring into some 3D modeling software, you would want to take the time to also do a scan underneath those features. I'm not going to do that right now because I'm going to talk about that with the Metro X, but this is a really quick demonstration of scanning with the Mini 2. So I'm going to get this cleared out, and let's talk about the Metro X, and then kind of take a look at the two of them together. And now let's take a look at the Metro X. Aside from obviously it being a bigger package, one of the main differences is in the scanning technology. The Mini 2 that we just looked at is a blue light scanner, so it's able to scan objects that are light colored. It will have trouble with black or shiny objects, and that's not just the Mini 2, that's most light-based 3D scanners. So your options are to use stickers to put dots on something that's black or something that's reflective for it to be able to lock onto those dots and figure out the geometry of the object. Or there's a spray that you can use that will mist on. It's a lighter color. It makes it easier for the system to be able to do that scan. And then over time, I believe it just kind of dissipates and you can wipe it off and you're done. The difference with the Metro X, it is not only a blue light scanner, but it is also a laser scanner. So it has the ability to scan black objects or things that are shiny directly. So let's take a look at what's in the box. Inside this flight case, this is the actual Metro X scanner itself. We've got even more lenses and gewgaws, and again, there's the buttons to be able to control the software directly from this. It has a USB-C port. Under here, we have a chunkier tripod that also extends for height. Since this system does use a laser, you can't power it just from USB. It has a power supply. So here's the cable for that. And the power supply itself. And the cable, so this is USB-C that goes into the Metro itself, and there is your USB cable and a power injector where the supply hooks in. And then this is a cradle to put the unit on. Get this out of the way. Then you've got this, which is the larger, I'm just going to close this. This is the larger turntable. So it not only is much bigger, it is a 2-axis turntable. So you are able to get it to tilt side to side, because one of the ways that you can avoid some of the issues that we saw with the bust that I scanned with the Mini, where you couldn't get underneath the chin to get that detail. You can take this, put it at an angle, and then as you're rotating this way, you will get more of the detail across the model. The other difference with this versus the smaller turntable is that this one has its own power supply, and it also is a Bluetooth controlled turntable. So you set this up as an accessory in the software, and unlike the small turntable where I had to turn it on and then start the scan, when you connect this to the software, this will automatically start turning when you start your scan. So I'm going to set up the Metro X, and then we'll take a look at its operation. I've got the Metro X set up. It's on the tripod pointing over here at the turntable. I have a black remote on there, and you can see we've got some lines dancing. If we take a look at the software, I am using the cross-line laser scanning with the marker tracking turned on to be able to track the dots, and I've got it set to black object. So I'm going to start that scan. I learned about these settings just by going through some of the tutorials and instructions that Revopoint puts in the software. So again, I really don't have a lot of experience running 3D scanners, actually none. This is just by going through their help, which has been really great. All right, I'm going to say that's complete. You can see that there's some gaps, but overall it seems to have caught a pretty good capture. So now I'm going to take the remote. I will flip it upside down and do a new scan. I'll wait for this to get done and start scanning the bottom. So what I'm going to do is another full scan of the bottom and then go through processing those two scans and then merging them together. It does have a little bit of trouble with the black object. I'm sure that there's things that I could be doing to get this to track better, but as I said, I am still learning how to do this. But let's get this. We'll do one more rotation. I will call that good. Okay, so if I look at the top scan, if I just do a one-click, that's going to take a couple minutes to process. So I will come back when, oh, well, that's much faster than I thought it'd be. Hooray! So that's now showing that that's meshed. I look at the fused output. So this now also has all of the turntable that it scanned and everything else. So if I use this tool, I can go and start deleting chunks of that scan that don't actually pertain to the remote. Okay. So I've got that done. Isn't learning fun? Great. Now I've got my 2 models. I can say align by feature, and it's actually done a pretty good job of lining up these 2 models. Now, I'll generate the model and then I'll show you one glitch. Oh, there's a couple little glitches. Let's go back to mesh. Go to the merged model. There are 1 or 2 things kicking around, but what I saw is you can see here we're missing a little bit on the bottom. I'm not sure exactly why that didn't scan, but the bigger thing is it's missing the infrared window. And the reason for that is it's shiny. There is a setting to do shiny metallic objects, but I am not sure how that would work with plastic. But let me take a look at this, and I will take out, there's that other couple little glitches here and there. And I'm going to go ahead and export this. Let's see if we go to mesh. We apply the mesh. Now we have the meshed output. Export the mesh as an STL. Must have done that already. So now I have an STL that obviously I need to do some repair work on because of the missing areas, but once that's fixed, I can 3D print that object or import it into design software to be able to design things around it or on it. So let me clear this stuff out of the way and then we'll talk about the 2 scanners. That's a quick look into 3D scanning with the Revopoint Mini 2 and the Metro X. Overall, it was easy for me to get pretty decent results with the software and the equipment that came with the scanners. There's some things that are just hurdles that you have to overcome as far as difficulty scanning black objects or anything that's reflective. I don't have any of the spray that you can use on those. Otherwise, I would have tried to do more as far as darker objects with the Mini 2 to see what that was like. They're both great options if you're looking for a 3D scanner, in my opinion. You know, if you want to look at it in terms of pros and cons, it's not necessarily that one is better than the other, but they have slightly different usage models. The Mini 2 is a little bit less expensive. It is optimized for scanning small objects. You can do bigger things with it, but you're going to take longer and it's going to be harder to get a good point map. You know, the way I think of it is you're not going to want to paint your house with the same paintbrush that you use on Warhammer miniatures. You know, a bigger job requires a bigger coverage area, where a bigger scanner is going to be an advantage. The advantage of the Mini 2 is that it's small, it can be used very easily handheld, and it has that portability. As I said, I did hook it up and use it with the iPhone app. I'll put up a screen grab of what it was able to do, and the results were just as good as with it connected to the computer. So if you need to be scanning things in a much more mobile situation, or you're trying to scan something, let's say, that's outdoors where you don't have the option to bring that to you, you have to go to the object, something like the Mini 2 is great. The Metro X is in many ways a more capable scanner. It's bigger, it has a larger scan coverage area. It also has the laser scanning, so you can do black objects, reflective objects. The flip side of that is that it needs to be powered by a mains adapter. So while you can use this over Wi-Fi, it generates its own Wi-Fi network, both of them do. You can't take this outdoors unless you're also bringing a generator or, some sort of large power bank that has an AC output. Even though you could use this wirelessly connected to a laptop, you're going to have to provide it with power. So this is going to be better for indoors and situations where you can plan your scanning environment versus this one, which you're going to be able to take pretty much anywhere. You can just kind of scan this way. But that said, they're both great options. So hopefully this gives you an idea of what it's like to do 3D scanning. It certainly is not at a point where you can just click a button and automatically get great scans out of the box. You are going to have to do a little bit of tweaking. That being said, the software does have some really good options as far as the one-click editing that will do most of the stuff and get you in the ballpark. But for things where, for example, if you need to do a complete 360-degree scan of something, that might require, that additional editing to take out some of the extraneous points. But at the end of the day, with not that much effort, you can get really good usable results. Thanks for watching. Let us know in the comments if you're interested in 3D scanners and what kind of work you would want to do with one.